Okay, so let's just jump right in. Imagine a single blueprint that's designed to fix, well, basically the world's two biggest
And
problems.
we're not talking small problems here.
No, we're talking the East-West ideological stalemate, democracy versus communism, and the huge, gaping North-South wealth divide, all in one.
And the blueprint insists, I mean, it is very clear, that it can only work if you see it through a religious lens, not a political one.
Right. And that's the astonishing scale of the vision we're doing a deep dive into today. Our source is an address from Sun Moon back in 1981.
It was for the International Conference on the Unity of the Sciences, or ICUS, and the title is really a mission statement in itself, God's love and the creation of a new world.
And before we get into the specifics, we should probably honor the author's request here. He's very explicit that this is a spiritual mandate first.
Yes, the whole goal is a total world civilization. The solutions proposed, the economic ones, the geopolitical stuff, infrastructure, it's all presented as flowing from a necessary religious shift.
Absolutely. So the foundational problem, the one that the whole speech is built on, is this huge chasm between the world's upper and lower classes.
The wealthy and the poor nations. What people have historically called the North-South problem. This is the big one that the New World has to solve.
And the way the source breaks down the population is so specific, it's really revealing of its worldview.
It is. It defines the upper class as, what, about 800 million people?
Yeah, 800 million, described as mostly white and centered in the northern hemisphere. So the wealthy, industrialized core.
Then it jumps to this huge middle-class figure, 3 billion people. That's China, India, and other big Asian nations, the sort of developing bloc.
And then there's the lower class, specified as 500 million people, mostly black and brown peoples across Africa, Central and South America, and Oceania.
And the core challenge, the question it asks, is how do you get that privileged 800 million to voluntarily meet the 500 million where they are? How do you dismantle that gap without just, total conflict?
Which is, I mean, the great ethical dilemma of human history, right?
Right. And the address immediately starts critiquing past attempts to solve this. The first target is communism.
Well, of course. The goal of communism, on paper at least, was to eliminate class exploitation.
To establish a truly classless society. But the source claims it failed, and for two very specific reasons.
The first is that it was atheistic. It denied God, which the author sees as the only moral foundation for genuine altruism.
And the second, which is a practical one, is that the entire movement was governed by the private will of a few dictators. So it just replaced one kind of oppression with another.
So if humanism and atheistic ideas can't deliver real unity, the solution has to be something else.
A radical pivot. We have to move beyond humanism and adopt a new godism and a new nucleus, something capable of unifying people on a much deeper spiritual level.
And this is where the argument really starts to zero in.
Exactly. The speech asserts that the only thing that can mediate between these opposed classes, the upper and lower, is religion.
But not just religion as a private thing.
No. Religion restored to its, what the source calls, its original purpose, the salvation of the world, not just saving individuals or families.
Which brings us to the Unification Church.
It's very direct. The address claims the Unification Church is the new religion destined to carry out this historic mission. It specifically says the yellow peoples must act as the mediator between the white Euro-American societies and the black African societies.
So the ideology is set: Godism, a specific religious movement, and a specific racial group as the mediator. But, okay, an ideology needs a home base, a geographical center.
Right. If a new world civilization is coming, where is it actually going to be centered?
And this part is fascinating. It uses this theory of civilization movement.
It's a very stylized view of history. The premise starts with geography. It argues that peninsulas, linking land to the ocean, are where major civilizations are born.
They cite Greece, Rome, Spain, Portugal as the examples.
And then it charts this very determined westward path for civilization. It goes from continental Egypt to the Greek and Roman peninsulas.
Then it jumps to the island of England, then across the Atlantic to continental America.
And now, according to the speech, the movement crosses the Pacific. It lands on the island civilization of Japan, and from there it has to concentrate on the emerging Korean peninsular civilization.
This isn't just a random guess, though. The source explicitly ties this idea to the historian Oswald Spengler.
Ah, yes, Spengler. That's a really important reference.
It is. Spengler's whole thing in The Decline of the West was that civilizations have life cycles. They're born, they mature, they die. He saw the West as being in its final stages.
So by bringing up Spangler, the address is basically saying that the age of the Atlantic civilization is passing, and the age of the Pacific civilization, with Korea at its center, isn't just a nice idea, it's historically inevitable.
It's destiny, a deterministic view of history. But why Korea specifically? It's not just that it's a peninsula. The source calls it the condensed world.
And when you look at the reasons given, that term actually makes a lot of sense, at least from the perspective of 1981.
Geopolitically, it's stuck right between the four great powers of the time: the US, Japan, China, and the Soviet Union. It's the literal fault line.
And ideologically, you have democracy in the South and communism in the North, both in this super concentrated existential form.
Religiously, too, the speech claims that the four major world religions, Christianity, Buddhism, Confucianism, Islam, are all highly developed there.
So everything the world is fighting over is, in a way, condensed into this one small place.
And on top of that, the source gives specific traits to the Korean people that it says makes them perfect for this mission.
Right, like a strong sense of justice, being naturally religious, adaptable.
And this is a key one, willing to change directions in a bold and courageous way when they hit a deadlock. The destined pioneers.
But all this restructuring of ideology and geography, it all depends on one single concept: God's love, which the source defines as the absolute value needed to get this done.
And this definition of love is really important because it's meant to fix the power imbalance. It's not just charity from the rich to the poor.
No, it's described as a spherical force.
Spherical, what does that mean?
It means it's reciprocal. It revolves freely from the highest point to the lowest and back again. If love is just vertical, top down, there's always a power dynamic, a giver and a receiver.
But a spherical force means true harmony, reciprocity. It possesses absolute value whenever and wherever it appears, no matter your social status.
Exactly. And this spherical absolute love is the engine, the spiritual technology that powers the whole clan.
The plan being the four great tasks assigned to Korea, centered on the unification movement. This is where it gets concrete.
Yes, these four tasks are the mechanism. The first is the unity of religions, an ecumenical movement to bind all the different faiths together.
Okay, that handles spiritual fragmentation. What's second?
The unity of thought, and this specifically means overcoming materialistic communism. The source calls for a dedicated victory over communism movement.
So that's the big ideological fight.
Then the third is the unity of culture. This is about daily life, creating a new global lifestyle that mixes the best of East and West, a kind of hybrid civilization.
And finally, the fourth one, the one it says is still incomplete, the unity of economy. And this has to be achieved through a new ideology.
Precisely. And this is where the spiritual mandate turns into, well, detailed industrial policy.
So how do you make an economy spherical, to use that term?
The answer is a very specific proposal for international cooperation.
Which is designed to pull the lower classes up, but it requires sacrifice from the upper classes.
Exactly. The plan starts with a really focused industrial alliance between Germany's high-standard mechanical technology and Korea's industry.
The goal being to produce top-quality goods, but cheaper to sell in Japan and other markets.
But here's the critical part, the ethical constraint. Germany has to agree to let the third world participate in equal profit sharing.
So that's where the wealth is meant to revolve. The most advanced northern tech has to directly and equitably benefit the poorest southern nations.
Yes. This triangle of Germany, Korea, and Japan is meant to create a realistic, unified economic sphere. Korea is the hinge connecting that high technology to the third world. This is how the fourth great task gets done.
And this leads to the grand finale, really, the physical manifestation of all this unity.
A massive infrastructure proposal. And it's not just about trade, it's designed for political reconciliation.
The Great Asian Highway.
Which would eventually become the Great Free World Highway, guaranteeing freedom of movement and commerce for everyone, everywhere.
And this highway has Korea as its absolute physical centerpiece. It has to run through mainland China, then cross the Korean peninsula north to south, and then connect to Japan.
Via a massive underwater tunnel or a bridge.
You have to stop and just think about the sheer audacity of that. Proposing a tunnel between Korea and Japan in 1981, given the history, the engineering,
It's a huge political move disguised as a construction project. The argument is that the economic and cultural exchange from this physical link would be so intense
that it would just force North Korea to abandon military aggression and choose peaceful unification.
the infrastructure itself becomes the agent of peace. The economic reality would create an Asian common community, basically solving the Korean divide by just paving a road right through it.
And the final goal of this highway, tying it all back to the beginning, is to enable a great migration of the yellow peoples.
Using Asia as the launch pad to connect East and West, finally completing the unification of the upper and lower classes through this physical, spiritual, and economic link.
What's so fascinating when you look at the whole document is how coherent it is. It's not just a list of ideas.
No, it's a single integrated theory. The spiritual need dictates the geography, which dictates the industrial alliances, which dictates the literal infrastructure.
Every single piece, from the spherical nature of love to the partnership with German engineering, is a necessary step to reach that one great goal.
And the key takeaway for you, as you listen to this, is seeing how a single unifying ideology can dictate every single priority. It picks a country, a peninsula packed with all the world conflicts, and just elevates it.
Makes it the destined focal point for a total world transition from an Atlantic to a Pacific civilization.
It's an incredible vision.
It is. Which brings up a final question for you to think about as you consider the sweeping scope of this 1981 vision. If the ideal is truly mutual, spherical, absolute love, meant to elevate everyone equally, how does an international highway, built by these very specific tech alliances and mediated by a single ethnic group, how does that serve as the final mechanism for achieving a purely spiritual and equitable unity? Does the huge physical project end up compromising the spiritual ideal, or is it maybe the only way a spiritual ideal can ever truly manifest in the material world?
Something to mull over. The distance between theology and tarmac.